Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
So, censorship. Recently, the CDC came out and said that only 6%, I'm going to pull up the exact quote because you know what will happen. You guys know what will happen, right? YouTube will ban me quickly. But let's find out. Let's find out the exact quote from the CDC. Let's find out the exact quote from the CDC. CDC comes out, and this is what they say. This is the news coverage. CDC comes out, and they say something along the lines. I'm going to find the exact quote for you guys, but they said something along the lines of only 6% of people dying from COVID are dying alone from COVID. We're going to pull this up. We're going to read it together, right? Only 6%. I can see YouTube already demonetizing it because they don't like people talking about COVID. We're going to call it the Rona. We're going to call it the Rona, right? Only 6% are actually dying from it alone, exclusively. What does that mean? That means everybody else, 94% of people who are passing away from Rona, which is tragic and is super sad, are having pre-existing conditions. Diabetes, pneumonia, respiratory issues, heart disease, obesity. Serious issues to various degrees. And they're older, right? 6%. Now, what's happened? Well, everybody is banning this. I would be surprised if this portion of the video, which is why I'm doing those transitions, doesn't get demonetized. So let's pull it up. We're going to read it together. We're going to use our brains. We're going to read it together. This is from Forbes. Okay, this is from Forbes. And we're going to read it together. When you see only 6% trending on Twitter, the next obvious question is only 6% of what? Only 6% of dogs wear shoes. And they're being cute, right? Nope. Various tweets were pulling the number 6% from the following passage on the provisional death count for coronavirus page on the Censored V's. Table 3. Types of conditions are contributing causes mentioned in conjunction with deaths involving coronavirus disease. For 6% of deaths, COVID-19 was the only cause mentioned. We're reading it directly from them. Don't you demonetize this, YouTube. Don't you censor me as we're talking about censorship. Okay? Only 6% are dying from just COVID, right? For example, Twitter account name Mel, this week CDC quietly 6% of deaths recorded actually died from. Now this is where it gets weird, right? This is where it gets weird. That's 9,200 deaths. The other 94 had 2 to 3 other serious conditions and illnesses. Overwhelming majority were of advanced age, right? Yeah, the Q doesn't stand for Q. Yosemite, it seems to stand for, yeah, whatever. They're talking about like this is the right-wing groups, right? Speaking of Trump, Trump even retweeted this. I'm no fan of Trump, just to be clear, and it's cool if you are, but I'm not a fan of Trump. If you want to know why the original tweet was inaccurate or misleading, just read the rest of what the CDC indicated after the 6%. For deaths with conditions or causes in addition to COVID-19, on average, there were 2.6 additional conditions or causes per death. 2.6 additional conditions or causes for death, right, per death. Take a gander at what these additional conditions are. They include things such as adult pneumonia, respiratory distress syndrome, respiratory arrest, other diseases of the respiratory, and CFS. These sound very much like the things that COVID can lead to and can ultimately kill people with severe COVID. So, only 6%. One side is saying, hey, 6% died just of COVID. Other people are saying, no. The other 94% are from causes that could have been caused by COVID. Listen, I don't know. Sounds like we're playing with a bit of semantics here. But we do know that the majority of people, whether it's 94% or whatever, are dying from underlying conditions. They're of old age, they have other issues, they have diabetes, they have such and such and such and such and such, right? Why is this significant? Well, because again, now we're curating. These platforms are curating. These platforms are saying, nope, this isn't good. And there should be some degree of fact checking. I'm not mad at that, right? But we've known this for a while, have we not? Have we not known that the majority of people, if they don't have pre-existing conditions, if they're younger, aren't going to die from this? That's not the point of why, or at least I don't think that should be the point of why people are saying wear masks and protect the elderly and the vulnerable, right? The idea simply goes, hey, you may not die, I may not die, you know, everybody's, but if I'm being reckless, not wearing a mask, putting myself at risk, and I may be asymptomatic. So there was a number that came out. I'm totally quoting this, but there's a number that came out that said a very high percentage. I'm not going to say the number because, again, I don't want to get demonetized or whatever. That said a very high percentage of people are asymptomatic, like a very, very high number of people are asymptomatic, meaning they don't have symptoms. So if I get it, maybe I won't have symptoms. Maybe I'll have mild symptoms. I know a handful of people who've gotten it. And one person had it really bad, but they had a compromised immune system. They had it for about 15 days. Another person had it for, I think, 2 weeks. My man Dayton was on the show, and he said it was pretty bad, but not where he had to go to the hospital. And then another buddy of mine caught it, went to the hospital for 3 days. Pretty crazy. So it is possible that you can get it, not know you get it, but the dangerous part is, and why I think most people are saying, hey, wear a mask, is you don't want to pass it on. My mother's older. My mother's at risk. I go over there. I take care of my mother. I take her to her doctor's appointments. I wear a mask to not catch it, but also to not pass it on to someone that may be more vulnerable. Right? You follow me? Regardless of what the numbers are, the fact that this is now being censored, right? The fact that this is now being censored, where it's really being censored on the basis of semantics. That's what we're really talking about. Is it 6% who died solely of COVID, or is it the 94% who potentially had COVID and is it an underlying health condition, or was it a health condition caused by? You see what I'm saying? But the CDC said what the CDC said, and yet we are having these issues. We're having these censorship issues. Again, what is the big idea? The big idea is these platforms don't owe you anything. The big idea is they can do what they want to do. The big idea is this is not a public utility yet. Maybe it will become one. But they get to control what goes on their platform. And if they feel like, hey, this isn't right, then they can take it down. And you can't do anything about it. And that's just how it goes. Hey, if you're watching this live, give this video a like. Subscribe button, turn notification bell on. My name is Ruslan. You guys can follow me on the gram, and I usually answer all my DMs on the gram, by the way. So appreciate you guys being here. Hey, listen, I'm watching the chat live. Let me know if you guys got any questions before I get out of here. It's almost bedtime. I'm going to do bedtime with my son, Levi. I feel like there's a lot of new faces in here. Sorry, I can't keep up with all the chat, but I wanted just to stop, acknowledge all you guys. I appreciate all you guys being here. If you could give this video a thumbs up, that really does help a lot. But that's the era that we live in, guys. These platforms are incredible. These platforms are amazing. I tell everybody, if you're an artist, if you're whatever you are in 2020, man, view yourself as a media company, right? Artist, producer, rapper, minister, whatever. View yourself as a media company. Your voice can go further now than it ever has before because of how dope technology is. That's dope. That's super duper duper fly. Missy Elliott, that's a 90s hip-hop reference. Super dope. However, remember, you don't own these platforms. These platforms don't owe you anything. They allow you to be on here and use their platforms and utilize them. Utilize them. By all means, man, utilize them. But don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You don't own this. I don't own YouTube. I can get some stock in Google, but I don't own YouTube. YouTube gets to control what goes on YouTube. YouTube gets to curate. Spotify gets to curate. And we're going to keep seeing this. And the way we undo this is by developing our own platforms, right? Just like, not a fan of this guy. I'll say it again, not a fan of this guy. I think he has some wonky views. And I think he's been right a handful of times. Probably more than a handful of times. Alex Jones. Alex Jones got deplatformed. Alex Jones went and built his own thing. Right? There's something to learn there. There's something to learn there. That's why we do Patreon. That's why we do these different ways for you to connect with us, because we can have private Zoom calls and I can connect directly to my tribe, and it's freaking dope. Ownership is king, 100%. And check this out. Ownership, hear me loud and clear. If you truly own something, if you're truly an entrepreneur, you are doing that at the sacrifice of making a little bit less money in the short term. So that you can own more in the long term, and maybe a different technology comes around in 5 or 10 years that Joe Budden and Joe Rogan can better monetize their platform and really keep it 100% keep 100% creative control, keep 100% of everything, not feel like they're being forced to sell or censor themselves, right? Maybe that's right around the corner. Who knows? I mean, you guys may not remember the days of MySpace, but goodness gracious, MySpace was here one day and it was like virtually overnight it was gone. That could happen with any of these platforms. Something could come around, man. So, hey, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys being here. Again, my name is Ruslan. You can follow me on all social media. I'm fairly active. Instagram, probably the most active. I reply to every single DM. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all being here. Love you guys. Hit that like button before you leave. Just hit the like button. Just click out of the chat. Hit the like button and turn the notification bell on and the subscriber bell. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys. Peace.